Yo, what's good, everybody? It's your boy Othree. Welcome back to Platicas. This is Platica number 8. I'm right here with my boy Iban. I'm gonna let him introduce himself.
Buenos dias, everybody. Buenos dias, Omar. Thanks for having me today. My name's Ivan. Ivan, if you speak English only. Ivan is just kind of like easier for most people.
Uh, before we get into it, dog, you were just talking about your name, right, off camera.
Hey,
Does that shit bother you for what?
nah, at this point, it's just like normal. It's like the name is my dad misspelled my name at birth, man. So like I was born in a small town in Mexico, and my dad had to handwrite my birth certificate, and he only went to school for like 2 years or something like that. I think he got out like first grade, second grade. And when he was filling out the application or the birth certificate, he put a B in there instead of a B. When I came to this country, bro, I didn't know that until like I was 23. I had grown up my whole life, everybody calling me Ivan or Ivan at the house because everybody spoke Spanish, but it was like traditionally spelled with the B. And right before I got married, my pops tells me, he's like, "Hey, your name's actually with the B." I was like, "What is it?" So, I've just been
What the
rolling with
fuck?
it since then. Hey,
Wait, so in your legal documents, it's not spelled the way you spell it?
it's not spelled with the V like traditionally, IVAN. It's spelled
Okay, so
BAN.
it's still spelled like the way you have it, right?
Yeah, I
Uh,
haven't changed it. I was thinking about it, but at this point, bro, it's kind of just a fun story.
okay, no, it's a good way to a good conversation starter, right?
Yeah.
Um, hey, my boy, did you cut your hair, dog?
Simon, gone.
What the fuck, dog?
Hey, I know you're used to me with the locks and shit, but they're all gone.
Y eso, what's up with the cambio, homie? No longer
Nah,
a
this
rock
is,
star or
in my heart, I guess.
what?
It's just been one of those things. I've been thinking about it for a cool minute. I kept the hair really for my wifey, man. She likes the long hair with like the brown skin, like her thing or whatever. And at one point or another, you gotta do things for yourself. Just like, hey babe, I think it's time. Surprise her, surprise me, but much needed.
Hey, dog, you look like Aquaman for you love fishing. You know that shit went hand in hand, homie.
Hey, yeah, I was
Um,
gonna wear my fishing disguise too.
yeah, I know we were talking about that shit. I told I was gonna wear my luchador mask and shit, my fucking El Pendi mask. But
So
all right, Iban, let's get to the fucking the actual conversation. I know I like this, that was like a little icebreaker. We were talking about certain career paths that that we're both a part of and shit. They always call it an icebreaker. But
hey,
this is the one question I like to ask everybody right at the beginning. But how do you define family?
how do I define family?
Mm,
Man, I think that's like a layered question. For many people, it means different things. Of course, there's like the biological thing, like where you come from. That's kind of basic. Like I guess you can everybody that has a parent that has the blessings and the luxury of having family around you, that would be considered your family. And then as you get older, man, that starts to become something else for you. You link up with somebody or you have homies or friends that become just part of that everyday crew that you see, and that becomes your family too, man. I think I heard a colleague of mine, talking all big words and shit. My boss pretty much told me
uh,
she's like, you need third spaces in your life, I was like, guess that's what she's like, you have your family life, which is, at home, pretty much everybody that you talk to, you grew up with. And then you have your work life, and then you need like a third space, and that becomes part of your family too. And I was like, well, like with your hobbies and stuff like that. She's like, yeah. She goes, and you already do that. You go out and you fish and stuff like that. And low key, it is like a part of your community, but I would say that's like an extended part of your family. It's almost like rings. I've heard people say like you're in the inner circle, outer circle type stuff. Um, I'm not like exclude. I don't like to like exclude people. But I know that there's like a core people that like if shit hits the fan, like we have like a nuclear event or something like that. I'm probably calling like 5 people, and those are the people that I got to check up on. No one's more important than anybody else, but those are the people that I got to look out for, and that would be like my most immediate family.
third spaces. That's interesting, man. Every time I ask my guest this question, siempre tienen una like la respuesta is all this like it's similar, but everybody has that little gem, you know what I'm saying? That third spaces, that's a good one, dog. I never heard that shit. That's dope.
That's not me. That again, I'm passing it on from somebody that knows what they're talking about.
Yeah, dog, like like I said, everybody has a similar answer, but Because everybody drops their little 2 cents when it comes to this conversation. You said your family's from Mexico. Like, let's talk about your roots. Or you're from Mexico too, right? Like you're from the motherland, because I'm Mexican as well. That's why I call it the
Mother.
motherland.
Hey.
Um, well, I was born here, but my parents are from Guanajuato. But where are you from? Where are your roots? Like, where you from, dog? Like, now I know that question out here means something else,
Yeah.
but
No,
literally,
no, with
dog,
all respect.
with all
With all
respect
respect.
for where you from, dog.
Yeah, no, no, yeah, I appreciate it. But honestly, like I come from Zacatecas, Mexico. Nosotros, my family, I'm the oldest of four siblings. I'm born in Mexico, like I had said. The little bit that I know are like stories and pictures that I've never really been back, man. Like I came over and that was pretty much it for me. I stayed here because it was easier. I didn't have to worry about the back and forth, getting caught up and doing all that. I went back once when I was like really young, and again, those are just like vague memories of what it used to be. But it used to be a little ranchito back in the days. My families are like farmers, campesinos. They work the fields, and from a small little rancho that back in the day didn't even have like plumbing. It's a trip now to hear from like family members out there that there's like Wi-Fi and paved streets and stuff. That
Oh shit.
that ya somos, yeah, somos. Uh, I guess
Have
I
you?
do have, like I mentioned, three siblings. So shout them out real quick. Mi
Oh
hermano
yeah,
Jairo,
go ahead, dog.
uh, mi hermano Jairo. Like we hardly ever see each other. Like always been proud of that. I'm glad that I've gotten a chance to call him my brother and have him around. Like I said, for as long as I have. My two sisters, it would be Alondra, the oldest, and Cristina. Both of them are amazing blessings. They've given me like the opportunity to be an uncle, man. So I have nephews now because of them, and more people that I get a chance to call family, and love. And of course, my pops and my moms, Maria Francisca Soto, well, no, Maria Francisca Viña now, and my dad's name, Jose Merced Soto, my pops.
People out here dropping government names and shit. Are they gonna watch this episode for or what?
Nah, but I'll let them know about it. Like I always let
Uh,
people know about these things, man. I like your shows, man. Even though like I'm not an avid like every day kind of watch the whole thing. I really enjoy this platform, man. I love the fact that you're able to just sit down and talk to people, man. People forget how to do that.
hey, dog. Hey, yo, look, I know I've been doing this shit for a minute, and having conversation with people is still. I gotten a lot better at it, after being away from the world for almost a year.
Mm,
Just learning to be alone has helped me become a better communicator and
mm,
shit. Since the last time we spoke, but yeah, I know you got siblings, right? And you say you're the oldest. How
mm,
has that been? Because I'm the youngest, dog. It's just me and my
mm.
older brother. My older brother and I, my bad for all those fucking grammar motherfuckers out there. My
Get a
my
bunch of comments.
you know what I'm saying? My brother and I, dog, it's just, my brother and I, dog, but um so my experience is being the youngest, right? But how is your experience of being the oldest?
At least in my family, it's a trip, bro. Like it can be good just because like you got pull if you would like you're like, oh, I'm the oldest, I was the first one to ride a bike type shit. Like I could I got some experience, but that fell short real quick, man. I think like once I became an adult and I look back, like low key, my parents used me as like a third parent. They're just kind of like come through to the house, make sure you get here because you got to take care of X, Y, and Z. And not to discredit my mom or my pops, man, they were working. They're out like busting their ass to make sure that we had like a house to stay in. But traditionally speaking, I guess like la gente, they'll have the first kid, and then once they're old enough, they're like, hey, come help us out with X, Y, and Z. And it's less of like, let me teach you how to be independent, and it's more like help out the family because we need you to help out and step up. So that was an interesting experience, man. It did teach me a lot, bro. Just because like they trusted me with a lot of stuff. Like they throw me the car keys at like 12. Like, hey, go cook something to eat. Use a gas stove. Go take that machete and go cut that like I don't know brush outside of the house. So I was doing things that like I guess some people say that they've never experienced, and to me it was just like I'm just cleaning up the house, man. I'm just doing what I need to do. Um, it did kind of suck though, man. Like later on, I guess as we got older, it's like I did hear from my siblings at one point that it was like, bro, you're not a parent, and that that low key stung because I was like, well, I helped raise you guys, I helped this, but they were all in their right to call me out on them, and it's like I'm not their father or mother, I'm not their sibling. and sometimes I have to learn my place and behave in a certain way where I can't, just try to be a third parent anymore. That's something that when I was a kid.
Yeah, that's oh shit, dog. That shit would have fucking made me cry, dog. I'm not even gonna fucking lie to you, dog.
Yeah,
Uh,
no, it hurts, but family has that ability of like either really, really like elevating you or really, really fucking you up at all. That's why we love them, man. Matter to us.
damn, that must have fucking sucked, dog. But because my older brother's
Mm,
3 years and 8 months older than myself than I am,
mm,
and so I also grew up with two older cousins. You know, they're around the same age. They're closer in age to my brother than I am. So it was the four of us. But when it just comes to my brother and myself, he was like a second father. You know, but you know what I'm saying? Because obviously in my family, uh, just because I was a lot more vocal and a lot more um recognized at school, a lot of the opportunities were thrown at me, and I never, I saw that my brother was never getting that same attention. But everywhere we would go, like it would always be like, go follow, follow your older brother. Or they didn't even say that shit. I would just do it naturally. Like, for example, I was just thinking about this shit the other day. Like when I was a kid and we would go to Walmart or like one of those big stores with the electronic sides and shit.
mm,
I didn't want to go with my fucking parents, dog. Like I didn't want to go look for clothes and shit. Like I wanted to go to the
yeah,
electronic side.
hmm,
And when we got a little bit older, they started letting us go on our own. Uh, but it would always be like, nah, you got to stay with your older brother. Always got to stay with your older brother. And him being the only person in the house that spoke English, the only person in the house that had an American experience, like it was like easier for me to be like, okay, um, no, I'm saying I'm not gonna listen to my dad, but it was easier for me to listen to my brother's advice, or not even his advice, because he doesn't fucking talk, but just look at his mistakes,
mm,
and so I was,
uh,
we had beef, we had a lot of beef, dog, growing up, just because off of the strength that, just off of the fact that like it was like that for where it was, I figured it out, dog. It was just it was fucked up that all eyes were on me, dog,
mm,
and no attention was put to him, but he was the oldest, but like all the pressure landed on me. So it was a weird dynamic, right? And then it flipped when we got older, right?
okay.
So now they depended on him, and then the person that was supposed to fucking bring us out of the trenches, myself, I
Mm,
started fucking up,
oh,
right? And so it flipped, dog. And so that's why, when people talk about like my brother, dog, like it, yeah, that was like my second dad and shit. So it sucks for that they told you like your siblings told you that you're not a parent. That's what I would never say that shit to my brother, man. That's fucked up, dog. You know what I'm saying?
the words are powerful, man. I think that's one thing that like in my family, yeah, man, like we have the ability to sometimes like sting the with just the words that we choose. Again, man, I earned it, bro. I wasn't in a place to be telling anybody how to live their lives. I was still trying to figure out my own life, and no one really is, man. You're never like in like 100% the best standing to be telling other people what to do. Pero like to your point about it stinging, bro, or it hurting, hell yeah, bro. That's a trip to me. It was again like I needed that though, man. I think like at one point or another, I allowed myself to believe that I was in a place in a family to call shots like a parent and like pretty much like make calls that a parent would make or call people out. And again, these are my brothers and sisters. Speaking about brothers, man, like this feeling of like being humbled by like a brother is you and I have siblings. So the beautiful thing is that like we can share similar experiences. Mine was out of high school. I was like 19 or something like that, and I squared up on my brother for the first time. We always fucked around, like, hey, fuck you, like, get upset with one another or whatever. But this is the first time that I squared up. And he's 3 years younger than I am. Man. When I did that, man, like part of me was like blind and stupid, because I was just upset. That's I was more focused on like being upset with him. And when I went up to him and pretty much called him out to a fight, I had no idea that my mom was listening in the kitchen next door. Um, but he walked up to me, man, and he walked up to me not in a way that I was like, all right, we're about to get down, but he walked up to me and he's all like, I'm your brother, bro. I'm not gonna fucking fight you. You understand that? It's like we're family. We don't fucking fight each other. And I can hear my mom start crying in the kitchen.
Damn.
That fucked me up. That fucked me up because I was just like, my little brother, somebody that I should be, helping, guide, showing like the best morals to, trying to, be a good big brother to, just put me in check in a way where like he didn't have to put his hands on me. He made my mom understand that like maybe emotionally at least at that moment he was more mature than I was, and I was low key a disappointment in the way that I was handling myself. I left the pad and I came back later on and I was all like, "Hey man, my bad for all that." He's like, "Yeah, yeah, whatever. So I'll play video games and shit." I was like, "Yeah, you want to play a game?" He's like, "Yeah." So that was kind of our way of like breaking the ice. Video games have always been kind of like a thing that my brother and I connected on. Um, to your point earlier about like the brother having to take the lead at the house, and the parents are away. I was asked to watch him, and what we did is we played video games. So that's kind of where a lot of my love for video games comes from. It's just that time that I spent with my brother, having fun, jumping online. Now it's like a couple of other friends, but for the most part, it was my brother early
Damn, for you almost got down with your brother. That reminds me of my brother. I love my brother for like all
on. Right?
respect to him.
Mm,
But there was a time when I was in college, but this is like um years of reflection for like I think back at it now because I think about this event all the time where my brother's a late bloomer,
mm,
so he didn't find his like I mean everybody has their own fucking path, but he started
pretty much.
figuring out his path a little later than myself. I figured out my shit like that for quickly in high school. Well, at least I thought, right? In my head, I'm in college, but I'm fucking up and nobody out here knows. And I come back and my ego, dog, I had a big ego. And I'm walking around my house like fucking unconsciously, dog. Like, this is something I
Mm-hmm,
realized unconsciously walking around like, yeah, dog, like I'm the fucking man, like I'm fucking in college, whoop de woo, I'm in a frat, ba ba ba. I mean, I hear that shit doesn't matter, fool, but when you're living in it, it's a level of confidence that you get.
mm-hmm,
And then and I see my brother and he's not doing so well. You feel me? And I'm thinking like, nah, I'm coming back. This is my break. Like I deserve everything. You know what I'm saying? I haven't seen my parents for a bit. I deserve to play the PlayStation all the time.
mm,
We're at this point we already had separate laptops and shit, but if it was like a computer, like when we are a lot younger, like we would fight over
mm-hmm,
the computer, but it was always about, he would always win because he was older, you know what I'm saying? Um, but at this point, I'm like, nah, fuck it, dog. Like, it's about me. You know what I'm saying? This is my break. Like, this is everything like I deserve right now. They don't know that I'm fucking up in college. They don't know that I got a drinking problem. They don't know that I'm out there, doing other stupid shit. Uh, but I'm right here, boom, walking around like whatever. And I remember this one time, uh, he didn't want to let me play the PS3. What was the PS3 or PS4? It was one of the PlayStations. And we
okay.
almost got down, dog. But
Oh shit.
my whole life, I've always been scared of my brother because he was always the one fool that would humble me, right? Because I'd be at school, everywhere, dog. I'd be at school or anywhere, dog, and I would come home and he would just like, he wouldn't put me down and shit, but he would always like, try to like, overpower, like be overbearing, dog, with other shit, dog. Like,
Mm,
nah, fool, this is my computer, like this is my place, this is my time to play,
okay.
because now I understand that that was his escape. I just thought he was being a dick, like not letting me fucking want to use it. But in my head, like now I understand, like that was his escape. And I remember one time, fool, we almost got down in our house, and my parents came out of the room, fool, and like my mom was scared because I was ready to fuck this fool up. I was ready to fuck this fool up, and but like I said, like my whole life I've been scared of that fool, so I ran outside because like deep inside I always knew like I might have been stronger than him, but he would have fucked me up. Just because he, obviously, like that's my older brother, dog. Like there's a level I don't even know how to explain. Like if you're a younger brother, there's like a level of holding back that you got
Mm,
to do when it comes to trying to fight because it's that respect.
mm,
You feel me? I respect and I love my older brother, so I knew that I couldn't do anything, so I ran outside. Because if shit would have gone down, I don't think like in my head I was like I would have like I picture it now like I would have fucked this fool up with the woo, but looking back at it now, I don't think I would have been able to do shit just because like all those memories of being a kid would have came like that, dog. And just to for a fucking PlayStation. But it was because like in my head, I was like, I'm doing everything, right? And you're not. Why the fuck do you deserve to play that shit? You know what I'm saying? But he humbled me that day. And after that, dog, he tells me, fool, like, and he tells me, and I know it's weird talking about it, and because my brother, he's like super low key, and it's weird talking about it. But my brother tells me he credits that day, that day is like the day in his head, fool, it all changed for him.
Oh
Because
shit.
after that, like, I remember one time when I went back to college to Ohio,
Mhm.
I talked to him, and he's like, "Yeah, fool, like I got a job here now. I'm doing this. I'm moving the boom. I got a car." Like I was like, "What the fuck?" Like, and I was just like, "I literally just left the house, fool, and you weren't there yet."
Yeah.
He was like, "Yeah, fool." And it was because we almost got down. And that shit
Damn,
fucked me up, fool, because like I went back out there and I'm all fucking I'm drunk, bro, talking to him about it.
damn.
You feel me? And so that shit really fucked me up. So almost getting down, I could relate to that shit.
Yeah, man. Siblings, they're fun as hell.
What about your sisters, though? You ever had any beef with your sisters?
Always, man. That's my sisters and I are like 10 years apart, and then they're the ones that kind of reminded me that I kind of get them. I have to give them some space. Like they're gonna make mistakes. They're gonna be adults on their own. You know, it was around the time when my youngest sister was just about to have my first nephew from my side of the family. It's my wife's side of the family also. I have an older nephew, Matthew, from their side, but on our side of the family, again, because of that whole like mindset of like, I'm here as the oldest one. I'm making some recommendations, some strong suggestions, and I'm gonna tell you guys essentially how you guys should be living your lives. That was met with like, you gotta watch that out, Ivan. Like it's you're not my dad. You're not my uncle. You're not anybody to really be calling me out on these things. If that's the way that they chose to live their lives at that point, then that's how it was. Alondra and Cristina are about a year and a half apart, 2 years each. So they're very, very close. And after I asked my parents, like, you guys do that on purpose? That's kind of cool. My brother and I kind of grew up together, and then my sisters kind of grew up together. And so they're like, nah, nothing happened on purpose. Like, it just happened. And I was like, all right. But they themselves are like moms. Like I said, they're amazing people. My youngest sister always surprised me with like the shit that she would get into. But truth be told, man, like she's a tough chick. Uh, my sister Christina she's good, man. Like I think wherever she would go, she would land on her feet for the most part. Like most people, we stumble a little bit, but she's had some experiences in her own life that I think like have really made the person that I see now, and I'm really proud of the person that she's become. I'm also like really proud to be able to call her my sister, because she's pretty much a badass person. Alondra, in her own regard, is kind of going through her own things with her family, and my youngest nephew has some issues, man. Like where like his eyes aren't the best. He's got some issues going on with his health and stuff, and you know, I think in many ways she stepped up. I'm not surprised, but most of us were like worried for a little bit. We're like, how's this going to be? How's this going to handle? And last year and a half of like Milo, which is my youngest nephew. No, actually, my niece is my youngest one. Damn, bro, I'm old. I got a lot of I don't have nieces and nephews now.
Yeah.
She stepped up, bro. Whatever it takes for her son. It sounds like she's there to take care of business, and I'm proud to be able to call them my sisters.
You say your parents were working a lot, right? Both of
Hey,
them, they both had a job.
yeah, boss. Especially early on. I think like early on when I was let's say from 4 to like maybe 12, 15, maybe at the most. Both of my parents were actively working like full-time jobs. At one point or another, my mom had two jobs, and that was kind of part of the reason why I think I do what I do now. Man, working at a school has always been kind of like, why the hell am I here? Don't even have a college degree. I barely made it out of high school. I'm part of the No Child Left Behind era, so like it was easy for me to just coast. I would literally kick it in class and be like, you're gonna get an F, but we're still gonna pass you on to the next grade. And I was like, fuck it. I'll go smoke. I'll come back all late. I'll show up when I wanted to, and made it out of college. I mean, made it out of high school. But truth be told, towards the end of that whole era, they told us as a senior, like, hey, dude, you actually need some credits. You need some stuff to make shit happen. And the only person that really was there for that was my mom's. She promoted like education. She took a whole year out of her life, bro, to follow me in 10th grade, in and out of high school, because I was doing what I needed to do. I was just fucking around, and in the mornings after doing all that, she would stay with me, walk me home, and then she would go work a night shift. That's why I said that she had two jobs. She told me and she told everybody else that she had quit her job, but because the family needed the money, bro, she would just like pretty much babysit my dumb ass at high school, and because I couldn't take care of my shit, and then go to work at nighttime.
So she was at the school when you were in 10th when you were in 10th grade?
But she would walk me from class to class, sit behind me or sit next to me. She was at the cafeteria before lunch started, and she would have me come up to the front of the line thinking that I was going to get hooked up. The only reason she did that is because she would have me sit next to her to eat. I was like low key, like pinned to her. I was like pretty much like I couldn't leave. All the teachers knew her, the administrators knew her, the dean for my school knew her. And it was really hard for me to get away with shit because I had already done so much nonsense. So um, my mom was pretty much walking me from class to class, but like I was sitting with her every day for a whole 10th grade year. I remember it was like 2 months into 10th grade year, and I sat down with the dean and like, I don't know what the hell to do with you, so I invited your mom to come over. She told me, she goes, from this point on, I'm going to be walking you to class. And I thought she was full of shit. Next morning, she woke me up. She's like, we're walking to school. Let's go. We walked to school. My bad. My light went off.
That's cool though.
She what's it called? She did her thing and then went to go work. She worked costuria, like pretty much like sewing stuff together. She did that for 3 4 years before my pops actually was able to get himself on his feet enough so that she could pull back.
Damn,
Yeah,
that's what the fuck, dog.
that's what I'm
Oh
saying. My mom's a
shit.
badass, bro. Like my sisters, I think like we have big shoes to fill.
I've never heard that shit happen. I know working with the youth for the past couple years, like past couple years, it's been like 6 years already. Like six
Hey,
years. They always talking about the staff at school are always like, oh, we're gonna bring your mom or your guardian or your dad, to be with you in every class. And it's almost like a threat. I didn't even know that shit was like that shit really happened. Fool, that's crazy. So when you tell
talking
the
about
youth
the '90s.
yeah, when you tell youth that shit, you really mean it. You really because you live that shit, you know what I'm saying? How was that?
I
Was that
tell
embarrassing, my boy, or what?
100%, man. Try to talk to ladies like that. Like, you're in the hallways and shit. You barely like say what's up to your friends. But like, hey, what's up? It's like, hey, get over here. You gotta get to class. I was still trying to do my thing as a 10th grader. So there's a couple of people that I thought were cute. I tried to fucking go over there, but she was there. It was kind of hard.
Oh, that shit must have fucking been trash, dog.
It was definitely not recommended, man. I always tell people like, act like your mom's around. Like if you care about your mom, you have her around. Somebody that's important to you. Act like your mom's around. Because otherwise she's gonna have to be around, and that's not fun, bro. Like it's cool to have her and to be able to hang out and shit, but when you're just trying to like go to school and hang out, it's like if you have to behave a certain way, it's probably best that you just kind of behave. Otherwise, somebody else will come over and check you on that. For me, it was my mom's. My dad's. He just laid down the law. He beat my ass, and then my mom would talk to me about why I got my ass beat. Then it was a good duo.
That's a good advice, dog. I think I'm gonna start doing that shit. Always act like your mom's around. That's a good.
Especially like your first date. So
You know what I'm
try
saying?
try to
Like
be on it.
it's always one of those things. Like yeah, you always one of those things. I tell people act like somebody's always watching, but I'm gonna start saying that shit. Act like your mom's around, dog. What's she gonna
Yeah,
say if she sees toking it up,
yeah.
dog, drinking a 40 at the park?
Say,
That's good.
hey,
That's a good
yeah.
fucking that's a good piece of advice. And where'd you grow up at when you moved from Mexico?
All over the place. But ya ves que like in Mexico they have the saying that says like we're gonna go pal norte.
Yeah.
Nos vamos pal norte. I always joke like my mom and my pops they took that to the heart. But so like when we first got into this country, uh, we went to Santa Monica. We were living in like a small little apartment, apparently real close to the beach. We had like four other families living with us. I don't
Yeah.
remember this, but like my mom tells me like we used to have to walk over people because they were sleeping in the living room. walk over other people because they're sleeping in the kitchen just to be able to get to our little spot to lay down and sleep. That wasn't long, man. We did that for like maybe 2 years, just a year to get on our feet. And then we moved into South LA, man. Specifically, like we were like Compton and like 18th Street, somewhere around there. Like we're there for a cool minute. Then
Like
we
the
actually moved
borderline,
into
like the
Casi.
borderline of South Central. Yeah.
Then we moved into Compton from there, and then we then ended up moving into, I guess, what you would consider MacArthur Park area.
Mm-hmm.
And then from fucking there, East LA, East LA went up to Northeast LA. Now my family's up in Palmdale. I tell my pops, it was like, you're probably gonna end up in Canada by the time you like retire because you just keep going para el
Yeah.
norte, you know. And it's like we just bounce around a lot. My mom actually just moved again. She's up in East Palmdale now. She told me too. She's like, this time around, she's like, I'm done with this. Man. This is too many times I've had to move. And I was like, yeah, it's a lot, mom.
Shit, for me, it's been the opposite. I've been at the spot my whole life, dog.
That's what's
South,
up.
South Central, the East Side, know me. Um,
That's what's up.
that must have been tough. But you said Santa Monica. That's crazy, dog. Because I know exactly what you're talking about. Because I work over there.
Mm,
I work in Santa Monica for with the youth. But I always knew the story about Santa Monica. Where Santa Monica was one of the landing spots for a lot of immigrant families, and it was like that, where they would all be shacked up in a fucking in a house with other families, but it would be just like temporary, you know,
mm,
and people would get it, and get their shit together, and then they would start moving out.
yeah.
You know, my family had a similar experience, like my pops, uh, like no, just my pops, because my pops lived with like all my mom's brothers or like other fools like from, just related to somehow or just family friends, and they all lived in one house, but then
Good.
slowly like my Nino dog, he bought this house, and then like all my
Mm,
other uncles started, going to their different spots. Um, some of them went to like Linwood, other ones went to Maywood, Huntington Park. But here was my brother. I mean, it was my dad and his oldest brother.
mm,
So now it's just my dad's because my Nino moved back to Mexico.
mm.
But it's just been here, dog. Just literally here on the east side, dog. Right here, dog.
That's cool.
But
Yeah,
that's
man,
why,
it's a dope spot.
yeah,
Not gonna
that's why,
lie,
you know
I
what I'm
like
saying?
it
Like,
there.
that's why I said like all the youth, bro. These are my youngins because they're literally are my youngins, dog. You know what I'm saying? These are my fucking. I see these fools even if I'm not there no more, dog. Even I'm not working them, I still see these fools going around, doing their shit. You know what I'm
Yeah, I
saying?
got visited by one of my youngins yesterday, man.
Oh, for
Uh,
real?
yeah, but like it was a trip, man, and it still is, to see like people come and go and grow up, whatever. But like I was talking to a full grown adult, like he's like pushing like 30 at this point,
Ooh.
maybe 20, 27 or something like that. And nah, maybe he's just an adult now. And I'm just like, bro, you were in these hallways. I was yelling at you about getting to class on time. And he's like, yeah, now I'm over here visiting you. I was like, that's such a trip to me. But it's dope to see that though, man. It's like, it's part of the fun part of the work, I guess.
Yeah, East Side, dog. I love my neighborhood and
Or,
shit. But yeah, that Santa Monica shit is crazy, dog. But yet it is like that. That is a typical immigrant experience for a lot of
mm,
families. I didn't get
mm,
to do that, right? Because I was born when my dad already lived here, like at this spot. You
yeah.
feel me?
Yeah,
But
you didn't want to
even
do that.
yeah, but even then, like when I was born, there was multiple families still here because the house is pretty big. Like the house in South Central in the '90s, dog, were pretty cheap,
Mm,
real fucking cheap, dog. Like
mm,
everything in LA was cheap. I mean, it was probably like similar, but it wasn't as expensive.
yeah.
Like, it was still the same mentality. Um, where my dad originally landed, it was all like a bunch of dudes,
Hmm.
but here it was like multiple families at this point. Right, the
Mm,
house is a little bit bigger. It wasn't no longer like that back house in an apartment complex or
hmm.
some shit like that. It was a full house, but with multiple rooms. There was 3 rooms, and so there was a family in each room, and then plus on top, like my cousins, my older cousins, they all like stayed in the living room. So there was always some shit going down. And then my dad, like he built this back part of the house when I was like fucking three or four or some shit like that.
Yep.
So they built this back part of the house, and that eventually that's became our pad. And yeah, that's literally been it. But I never moved around. That probably the only thing I ever moved for was from here to fucking Ohio and back. That wasn't, you know what I'm saying? That was just temporary. You feel me?
Mm.
That's probably the
Uh,
only thing I could. I don't even want to relate, dog. I don't. I don't
when
want to
you
think
tell me
about it.
about that time, man, in Ohio, like to me, because I've never traveled like that. Like I'm always curious, man, about like people's experience about going from like that one place that you know as like your place, and then having to really completely uproot yourself, go somewhere else for a bit. You know, I've always considered myself and my some of my family members like potted plants. Like we have like our
Yeah.
roots are already in like these fucking like little pots, and we just move the plant around, and that's where we're at. But like but that feeling of like being at one spot for a long time, you can't help but like, stretch out those roots and like really get into your community. So like that's like a shell shock almost. Like you just whack, rip that little plant out and throw them somewhere else. Like good luck, bro. So was that like a trip the first time around, or like did it take you a while to adjust?
For oh no, we could make a whole movie about my time in Ohio, dog.
Totally.
It's a whole fucking movie, my boy. It
All
was
right.
weird. Nah, it was weird. For like uh I left. Well, it's weird to talk about it now because I went through a whole period of self-reflection and like just being alone. And I got to find a lot of answers as to why I did a lot of things when I was younger. I used to think that I left because I wanted to be adventurous. I wanted to go to college in a different state. Um, which part of it was, but it was like some unconscious like fucking decision that I made of first trying to prove to everybody that I was this fucking high potential fucking, youth. I wanted to prove to everybody that I could be a fucking legendary scholar. I could do things on my own away from my family. But I was essentially just running away from my parents.
Ah,
It's like a weird psychology thing where I was just running away from my parents and being a perfectionist and being like at that time now, after being diagnosed with OCD, a lot of decisions made sense back in the day. It wasn't full blown OCD, but it was like that anxiety was there. And I wanted to leave here because I had freedom, but I didn't have the freedom to control my own destiny. I had freedom to do whatever the fuck I wanted, but I still had to come down, come back to a house full of rules.
okay.
You know what I'm saying? And I
Yeah.
didn't. A part of me was my rebel. That was like my me rebelling was going to college at a different state because I wanted to escape. I had like deep rooted issues against my mom, and I
Mm,
had like a deep hatred for my dad. And I understand why now, and I'm getting over all that shit. When my mom's just, that one's almost, that one's already. I healed that part, and with my pops, I'm currently doing that. But that's what it was. I was running away from my mom's like, uh, I used to just think like, just let me be. They like I
mm,
said, they used to give me freedom to do whatever the fuck I want,
mhm.
but it would always like, she would always ask questions. I was like, Mom, stop being nosy. you know. But I respect that. Like, I love that shit about my
Yeah.
mom's now because now she don't even have to tell me. I'll fucking just straight up tell her like, oh, this is, that's my day. Like, all right, boom, boom, boom. You know what I'm saying?
You want to tell her.
Yeah, I want to tell her now, fool, and I understand like she was just being a mom, but as a kid, you're just like, nah, fuck that shit. Like, I want to fucking do whatever the fuck I want and come home to nobody, dog. Like to just come
Hey.
home and respond to nobody, dog. And yeah, like I joined the frat and there was rules there, but it was a bunch of
Mhm.
fucking fools. You know what I'm saying? It was a
Mm,
bunch of fools, and I had way more fucking freedom out there. Um, and then part of it also was like partying. It was so easy for me because out here, like I said, I still had to come home to my parents. And there was when you're young, I wasn't really like the rowdy one like that when I was younger.
mhm.
But there still was a little level of shame and guilt, but also excitement of doing desmadre behind their backs.
Hey.
And out there, I had nobody to check me. So that's why, I lost control. You know what I'm saying?
Half.
And so yeah, it was fun, but I left for the wrong reasons. And now I understand now, like I didn't want to go to college. I did not want to go to college.
Mm,
I wanted to fucking work on music. That's the only thing that makes me happy. Music,
gotcha.
music, and doing this shit.
That's what's up.
Like yeah, the whole working with the youth. To me, dog, my dream was always like to do speeches in classrooms and at schools. It was never to
Mm,
work directly in after school programs or work in certain programs. And then for the college, I was doing that to because like my mentors were telling me go to college, the school was telling me to go to college, my parents, they didn't directly say go to college, but they hoped for it. And I to me, dog, like, that was a whole different part of like who I am of trying to be a people pleaser. I wanted to please my parents
mm.
and my teachers and my mentors. So I was like, fuck it, let me go to college, see what's up. They're gonna be like, oh, they're gonna give me that fucking that praise. I'm gonna get that love. Boom, boom,
Yeah.
boom. And it happened, fool, but it didn't trigger anything, fool.
Uh,
So then I'm out there, the first semester is going dope. I learned everything that I need to learn about sociology, or at least in my head. So
okay.
now I'm just like, what the fuck? Right? And because I was gonna transfer, and people know this shit, I was gonna transfer back home my first semester, and then I stepped foot in the frat, and it was a rap, dog. It was a fucking rap. Before I got drunk, there was like beer Olympics.
Hmm.
They showed me the
Beer
live.
Olympics.
They showed me the
Damn.
live food, and they were just like, "Here you go, full boom, free weed." Boom, I'm out there blazing it, dog. There's a bunch of fucking different fools, different backgrounds, drunk as
They.
fuck on a Wednesday night. I'm like, damn, fool, like what? Like, what is this? And it was a wrap after that. Yeah, beer Olympics is crazy, man. Beer Olympics is crazy. It starts off dope, and then once everybody's drunk, you just forget about everything. You just keep
We
drinking.
just have nachos and
Fool, it literally starts like so well organized. Like, oh, we're gonna play this game, we're gonna play that game, boom, 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 and then like
hey.
as soon as the first team gets eliminated, ya valió pito, fool. Like everybody's out there just straight. They leave, they go get drunk somewhere else. Like somebody's like, oh, I want to go with them, and so now
Hey,
everything just the whole event just obviously. But yeah,
the
that's
the American college experience is a trip to me, man. Like I never got like that traditional like let's go party at like a college party type experience. Even like throughout high school, I wasn't like really going to like what you would consider like the kickbacks, the parties that people would go to. I was always like into like rock and roll, punk, metal. So I'd go out and we'd go hang out with that like crew, that group, and they got together Friday nights, Saturday nights. So it was like almost like clubbing really early on. I didn't get a chance to do that in college. I met people that would talk about it a lot. I've seen videos and heard other people's stories and movies on it. I never got to experience that in college specifically, and I think partly is because I never dormed. Like I was always going home. That little bit of shame that you were talking about. Like I felt that having to come back to the house, having to come back like smelling like weed or like alcohol because I was out there hanging out with a couple of friends, and I would have to kind of hide that. Low-key, it is a little bit of a rush when you're young. You think you're getting away with something,
yeah.
so you're like, hey, hell yeah! Like I got in a couple fucking good hours, and now I'm gonna get the house a good kid or whatever. But I always said, man, like when you're younger, like it's a strange time, especially like adolescence to like young adult, because you think you know enough to do shit, but you really don't know enough to know that you don't know it. And I think that's the trippy part because you learn a lot of things. You know how to wipe your ass. You know how to like open up a bank account. You know how to drive a car. You know how to do things that could get you the things that you want, whether it's like money, drugs, alcohol, food, and you feel low key independent, but you still have this like unknowing of like or like this almost like false sense of confidence and doing some crazy shit. And I think that's why we make those mistakes, man. It's part of growing up, though, man. It's part of like being a person. My nephew, who's 16, no, he's 18. Damn, he's gonna be 18 now. Fucking old, bro. 40 years old. Uh, he's been a topic that we talk about once in a while in the family, and I was like, hey, let him just do his thing. Let him do his thing. Don't worry about him. Once he fights, fucks, and gets fucked up, he's gonna be all right. He'll figure out what he likes, what he doesn't like, um, how he liked it, whatever it is you need to do. And it seems simplified or whatever, but like conflict is important for people to have to deal with growing up. When you're young, it's easy to just kind of like throw fists and like fuck it, fuck him, fuck her, like just do this matter, and like there are times when you hurt too many people and then you can't go back, you can't take that back, you know. So sometimes we need to experience those things. I was one of those dumbasses growing up, like where like I thought I could fight everybody, and that was not true. I'd get my ass kicked a couple of times. So but those were lessons. Those were lessons. Like don't go picking fights with everybody. You think you're tough, and people put you in check. I got fucked up quite a bit, like smoking, drinking, doing dumb shit, and I realized that like that was kind of like not the path that I wanted to take. It was later than now, because I still kind of mess around here and there. I'll have alcohol, still smoke here and there, but it's it's not something that it's like a fixture of my life. But I needed to go through all that, get like a week or two of binges in, and then be like, yeah, it's not for me. I don't enjoy it. And then the last one would be like, fuck, and that's a rude or like a crass way of just saying like, have sex, man. Like it's a human experience. Like go out there and like whether you do it all the time, whether you do it once a year, whether like whatever it is, just like know where you're at with that. Now there's like all these conversations about like sexuality, identity, gender, like the differences between those things, and that all kind of encompasses that little bucket, or it's all in that bucket. Like this whole notion of like being in touch with like the most intimate part of you and being able to be that with somebody else is what helps you develop your personality, your character. Then like what clubs you want to go to. Am I going to, a gay club? Am I going to like a regular straight club? Am I going to go to a swingers club? What are you into? And once you do those things, like as a young adult, you start to figure yourself out, man.
It took me a long time for to get to this point in my life.
Mm,
Y'all met me at a time where I was still drinking a lot, a lot,
mm,
and not like throughout the week, but on weekends, fool, I was a fucking weekend warrior,
mm.
fool, but to the max. And y'all see me hungover all
Sheesh.
the fucking time, dog. Y'all fools would hear me talking about my hangovers, fool. Big baby when it came down to hangovers. But it's something that took me a long time to figure that out, dog. Like the whole identity stuff, right? Who am I?
Mm,
Dog? That's the question I was asking myself. Who am I, dog? All last year.
mm,
That's what got me to, get they that fool. It took me to some dark ass fucking places, my boy. A lot of realizations, a lot of hard truths.
hey.
Um, just self therapy.
Mm,
Obviously after I finished, like OCD therapy helped, but a lot of my um personal shit was through self help journey.
mm,
And it is about that, the identity stuff. Like who am I? Because for a while, um, sometimes if you're like me, like you live your whole life almost living a lie.
mm,
Because too smart for the hoodlums, too hood for the smart ones. That's where I'm at.
mm,
And that was my whole life. So I was like, who do I want to fit in?
mm,
It was always like a fucking like a needle that was moving. It was never centered. And so now that I'm centered and the needle's centered, you know, I'm at a weird place because now I don't know what the fuck I want to do. I don't want to go to the bars.
mm.
Want to go out. I don't want to be around people, dog. I don't want to talk to people. And
Yep.
not that I don't hate people. I used to like have social anxiety, but
Hey.
now I'm just like whatever's about everything, fool. And I just don't want to be around people. I want to be alone a lot of the times. And
Mm,
that's been my dilemma for like where is the replacement for the bar for me?
mm. That's
You
been
know,
fishing for me, boss.
you feel me? Like,
That's
yeah,
been
that's what I'm saying. Like, we're gonna talk about fishing in a bit, but
hey.
I know for you, it's fishing, and for a lot of people, they always tell me like, "Oh, I'm a like anime shit." They get lost in their anime stuff. Uh, I'm not gonna sit here and be like I'm a full blown fucking rapper. Like I do that shit as like my my that's my art and that's my release. And I love music and I fucking love that shit. But it's not something that I don't want to go to the concerts for. I don't want to go and go to the studios and shit. Like I just want to do that shit on my own, right? The drinking stuff, like that to me, that's done for, dog. Like I might even
So,
like I've been battling this battle for like, do I go sober the rest of my life? You know, whoop de woo.
mm,
So the bar shit is done for. School, like I said, I never wanted to go to school. So to me, like the scholarly world, it's cool, dog, and I understand that shit, but that's not for me.
mm,
You feel me? And so I'm still trying to figure out where that is. Maybe it's at a bookstore, a library, but even then, like that is not something that I want to do in public. I like to read. Like I said, I like to do everything on my own.
mm.
And there is been a lot of like cutting off a lot of people, dog. I've been cut off a lot of fucking people. I don't connect with people. Which is funny because when you hit me up, I was thinking about hitting you up, right? Because I was thinking about getting tickets to the graduation this year.
Really,
Uh, and that morning I was just thinking about like, but I was gonna hit the unspoken group chat that we have and
that's
shit.
right.
But yeah, dog, I've been that's where I'm at, So, but it's cool to hear that. And I think that comes from being an adult, where you do that reflection, right? Where you figure things out, and you do go through those that early those early years for when you are rebelling and you are experiencing a lot of stupid shit and you are doing a lot of things and you are experimenting with a lot of different um substances and peoples and all that. But you said some funny shit, though. You said when you fuck, when you fight, and when you get fucked up. That's
That's
a
it, man.
funny ass. That's a funny ass like That's like a funny ass checklist, dog. Because that's like a checklist that you can tell a youth, fool, like a teenager or
Kind of.
or like a young adult. Like those three things,
Yeah.
fool. Like once you do those
So,
three things, fool, it's a wrap, dog.
yeah, I told him he's gonna be fine once he fights, fucks, and gets fucked up. And I think like we all have different ways of going about this journey, man. I don't think there's like one way that's like, that's the right way. Of course, there's a lot of glorified ways or like hyped up ways that you see like on TV or like, yeah, people even watch TV anymore. I'm all fucking TV. But like, like what you see in the media, what you get told that this is like the right way of doing things. I heard a term earlier this week about like meeting fucking age appropriate achievements, and I was like, what the fuck is that? And then like that you have like goals that you got to get to by the time you get a certain age, and I was like, oh,
Oh,
are they like PlayStation trophies? Like you just you finish this
more.
game and then you get a little, it's like, do I get a trophy in the mail or what? And they're like, nah, like it's just you got to have this done, a car, this and that. I'm like, oh shit, and like I'm falling behind on some of these things, but and then I also just shook it off after that. Like, cause for a minute I was thinking about it. I was like, damn, man, I'm 40. And the people that were talking with me about this topic had already had a lot of things checked off. And when it came to me, I was just like, nah, I'm good with it. Pass that on to the next person. And partly it's because I don't have a lot of those things checked off. So it did kind of like stick with me for a little bit, but then I don't know, man. I have this way of just kind of like shaking some stuff off now. Like, it took me a while to find out what the balance is, man. And sometimes another person helps just because like they can see what you're doing and see your errors as they're happening and call you out on them. Not always welcome, not you're not always in the mood to hear it from other people. Are like, hey, let me just do this. Let me just make this mistake. But other people do help as like a reflective tool, if you would, to be able to be like, all right, man, I'm taking too many steps in the wrong direction, or maybe I should focus on a little bit more of this, and like in getting like high and like, drinking and all that other stuff, I would always try to find like fun things to do, like activities to do. It's like you always hear about like people smoking and playing video games or like drinking and going to a party or going to a club and being social. But I like doing activities, bro. I like going outside and playing dodgeball, like fucking messing around with like whether it be one or two friends or even with yourself. Just so partly like I would smoke and then I would go fish. I would drink and then I would go fish because it was fun to me. But I was also fucking up quite a bit. Like I wasn't doing what I was supposed to do to catch the fish. It wasn't until later on where like it became kind of like a fixture of my life, because
Yeah.
I was too drunk to tie lines. I was too high to like figure out what I needed to do. And eventually, what ended up happening was like it just started to replace it. It wasn't until like maybe I don't know, a year or two ago when I had like almost like a little epiphany in my head, and I was like, this comes from when I was young. When I was really young and I was like doing some like demon stuff, like I used to love stealing stuff from like the local Kmart. That dates me a little bit too. I used to go to the Kmart and what I would steal was the fishing tackle. I would steal like fishing rods and hooks and stuff like that because they were expensive and they were easy to put in your pockets and you can take the rods apart and slide them down your pants. I
I
would
don't
go
know.
sell them at
You telling me right now,
the.
dog?
I'm letting you know. But I would go to the parks and I would make pretty decent money, or like my mom would have a yard sale and I'd put them out there and make a couple bucks. And, like there's no questions asked up until I got caught. And what ended up getting me caught was like I guess loss prevention saw me. I took off running, and the rod that was in my pants at that time, big ass baggy pants, it broke and it fucking sliced me, cut me open on my leg. So like
Damn.
I got dropped by the fucking loss prevention guy. Security's all over me. They're fucking like talking shit, and I think I was 13 at that time. And my legs all bloody, all messed up. And I'm like, oh, you can never come back to this Walmart. We're gonna call your parents. They ended up like, calling the cops, giving me a citation on all that stuff. But what I did do was like I went back to the lakes where I had already like, sold some of the stuff. I did have some fishing rods and stuff at the house, and I was there like it's like fuck it. Well, like now that I can't go steal anymore and make money off of it, like let's see if I can like, go fishing at the very least, try it out. Um, that led to my brother and I catching catfish for money. So out of like local lakes, I won't even call out the lakes. We would call out. We grab some small little catfish, and this I guess the homie from the park goes, "Hey, in Chinatown they'll buy them from." And so as a 13-year-old, you're like, "What do you mean they're gonna buy them from?" He's like, "Yeah, if you get a catfish, take it with you. They'll give you like $5 a pound for the
Shit.
catfish." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"For real?" And so we started catching catfish, riding our bikes into Chinatown, bro, and then selling catfish, to make some cash. Came back to the house, kind of stuck with it for a bit. It wasn't until like I was already married for maybe about like 5, 6 years. Then I started kind of getting back into fishing again. I was looking for that thing again, for that, like I wanted to do something. Video games are fun. They're a huge part of my life, but I also like being outside, and I needed a reason to be in the sun. Before I did the work that I do now as a gardener, and I think I've always enjoyed being out in the sun, like touching soil, fucking getting your hands dirty, water, all that stuff. So I started fishing freshwater, and then most recently I started going into the saltwater. And saltwater is a beast out there, bro. Like that shit has humbled me in many ways. I always tell people like I have a healthy fear and respect for that water just because like we don't move fast as shit. Like everything else in that water moves faster than I do. So if I need to get away, it's probably not going to happen quickly. Whatever's down there is going to probably get me. So it's been a cool journey with this fishing nonsense, but it is very much like I think like a replacement for me for the times that I would spend like high skateboarding, well not skateboarding again, high and like doing some art at the house, or drunk and high being stupid at the with my friends. We used to do like backyard wrestling and drink and fucking slam each other against tables.
Just doing rowdy shit, dog.
Yeah, well that's what it was, man. We were young. We was young.
So you said you started fishing at 13, right? Sin querer queriendo, dog. You just randomly happened. And then did you say you stopped for a bit?
Yeah, I stopped for a bit, man. I stopped like when it wasn't cool, when you're like going into high school and shit. It's like you can't tell nobody you fish. Like that sounds lame as shit.
Yeah,
But
I'm a fisherman. That's not, oh, fool, you'd
yeah,
have been roasted, dog.
yeah. So
Roast
I hung
sessions
out
every
with
day,
the
homie. That would have been a wrap, dog.
what you catch today.
Yeah,
So
literally, fool. Like, hey, you got any fish in your backpack, dog? It's
like
just,
smell your
fool,
fingers,
just
bro.
jokes everywhere, man. Jokes everywhere.
Yeah,
Hey, y'all
so I was
smell that
kicking it with
shit?
that's him,
Smells
bro. That's
fishy.
him.
Like,
Smells
just some
fishy.
stupid ass shit, dog.
Because you're high schoolers, man.
Yeah.
Make fun of everything, man. Yeah, so I was kicking it with like the stoners and like the skaters at the time, the metalheads and shit, and so like fishing wasn't necessarily something that I was focused on at that point. I think what I was looking for was something tranquil, man, something to like focus on. Fishing low key is like my new learning tool. Like I didn't know how much knowledge that comes with just the act of trying to go hook a fish in the mouth. You know, it is it's consuming, man. I saw this Instagram reel or post that said like, get your kids hooked on fishing. They'll never have money or time for drugs and alcohol. And like low key, that's how it is, man. Like if you like it, it will take up every bit of your resources, every bit of your time. It is like you can never stop learning when it comes down to fishing. You know, because there's always a new tactic, a new way of doing something. You know, at the end of the day, it's a hook with a line, a little piece of bait at the end of it, and then you're trying to fight this fish, whether it's to eat them or just to take a picture of them. They call them CPR, catch, photo, and release. You know, you just catch them, take a little quick picture, and send them back. But for me, it's been bass fishing, man. I would be considered a bass head or like a you know, just a bass fisherman. That's the one target fish that I'm always after, whether it be like saltwater or freshwater. Man, bass is fun as fuck to fish.
You ever been to that shop, Bass Pro Shop? What the fuck is it called? You know what I'm talking
Team one,
about?
yeah. No, I
Yeah.
have a hat. Later,
The
like
only
it.
shit I know about bass, dog. I don't fucking. Yeah, exactly. I didn't know that shit. I've never been fishing, and I know you fools have always told me like, let's go fishing, let's go fishing. I
There we
might have
go.
to, take you up on your offer one day.
Mm,
Um, just que ahorita no está lloviendo, because it's been raining.
like,
But been into like trying to try new shit alone.
mm,
But the first time I got, the first time I was ever around people that were fishing was in Ohio, right? Because you
uh,
meet a bunch of people that are not from Ohio that lived in different parts, or they went in their summers. They would go to like Florida or different parts with water, places where you could actually go fish. You know what I'm saying? And they would talk about it like, yeah, we would go fishing, or like even in the lakes. They were like, yeah,
mm,
we would go fishing. And that's the first time I seen that Bass Pro Shop fucking logo. And I asked them, I forgot who I asked, but I remember them telling me, like, look up their website. And I did, boom, food, everything, dog. Just like whatever you need, Bass Pro Shop has it. And I seen
mm,
a bunch of
yeah,
fools with that shit. And I kind of, I don't understand it, but I get where it comes from. You know what I'm saying? And when you
yeah.
started talking, when I met you a couple years ago and you started talking about fishing, that's the first thing I remember was the Bass Pro Shop website. You know what I'm saying? And I remember how like fucking knowledgeable you were about fishing. I remember one time you left behind a fishing what is it called? Fishing accessories booklet
Yeah.
at the office. And I'm like, as soon as I read this shit, I was like, yeah, I know who this is. Like boom, straight to the fucking to your office. But I remember I was talking to this fool, Max Articus.
Mm,
Articus Maximus, my boy. This
ese,
for this for Arturo.
el
And we're
compa, hell yeah.
we're talking about photography last week, right? And he said that fools, if you're not willing to fucking try to learn everything about photography, then why the fuck are you doing it? And that's the when you
Mm,
talk about like you're always learning about fishing and how knowledgeable you are about fishing. That's the first thing I thought about is like you could apply that mentality to everything. If you're not learning everything about fishing, don't call yourself a fisherman. If you're not
mm,
learning about fishing, don't go fishing. You feel me? You could like you know what I'm saying? Because there's fools that fake the funk, be like, yeah, I go fishing, I'm a
uh-huh.
fisherman, and then you take them out in the waters and no saben nada. Like me, I'm not gonna be like, oh yeah, I'm a fucking fisherman after the first time I go fishing. I'm gonna be like, yeah, I went fishing one time. That's it. I
Hey,
learned. I'm not gonna. That's not something that I'm interested in.
mm,
I'm not like a very outdoors. Like I like the soil and shit. Like I don't have Dr. Green Thumb. I'm not into the water. You feel me? Like you talk about the seawater and difference between seawater and fucking ocean. I don't know fucking waters, whatever the fuck.
the
Like I
water's
don't
water.
fucking know that shit. To me, like water is water. When you're talking about like this and that. I'm like, damn, that's crazy. Like this fool knows so much about fishing. Your fucking background's about fishing.
Yeah. That's the Long Beach lighthouse. That's up there as you're leaving on a boat fishing.
See, that's some shit I would never know, dog. You know what I'm saying? But I like how you said that quote. Like you teach your kid fishing and never do drugs. What is it? Do drugs, alcohol,
They they won't have money or resources to buy alcohol or drugs.
bro. Literally, because if you dedicate your life to learning everything about fishing, you're not gonna have time to do all that other stupid shit.
Like, it's true. I mean, like, you know, we tell young folks all the time, like, hey, go do something positive with your time. You know, join a club, do something good, you know. And the reason is, it's like it's habitual after a while. You start to build whether it's like good or bad habits, you know. And it's like it's easy to build bad habits because most of the time they're fun. You don't feel them until the hangover. You don't feel them until like you look at your bank account and shit's low, or like you're having to tell your landlord, I don't have it this month. You know, but when you're trying to do good things and like build good habits, the reward isn't always like as fun. It could just be I've because of being out in the water and like being out in the lake, I've learned how to be alone. I've learned how to be in tune with myself a little bit more. I don't know where I got this ritual from, but like I remember once I walked up to like the first lake. I hadn't gone to a lake ever, and so it was like the first time I'd ever been in this body of water, and something just told me like, take your hat off. I'm usually wearing like a hat, glasses, and like this thing that covers my face when I go out fishing because it's UV rays, all that other stuff, bugs and shit. But I took it off and took off my face cover, and for whatever reason, I was just like compelled to touch the water. And I touched a little bit of the water, got my hands wet with that water, and I felt like I was introducing myself to the body of water that I was about to fish. I didn't do great that day, meaning like I didn't catch a bunch of fish or like nothing spectacular. But what did happen is like when I was getting up with my hands wet, I ran them through like at that point was my long hair, and I didn't know this, but I had started a ritual for myself. Like every time that I go to a new body of water I've never been to, I repeat that. I
Mm.
put my hands in the water, I introduce myself, who I am, pretty much my intentions, and I feel the water and I put it on top of my head, almost like as a blessing. I grew up Catholic as a kid, so like it reminds me of the ritual of like the holy water on your forehead when you're walking into church. And I've told people this. I said, there are times when you'll see me fishing and I'll be laughing, I'll be having a good time, talking shit to people and stuff like that. And then there are other times where I'm just quiet. And during those times, I think that I'm praying, um, I'm meditating, I'm thinking about things that are about fishing, like where's my line, what hook did I put on there, how is it biting? But I'm not. I'm also somewhere else, and it's something about that combination of this like water in front of you that has like all kinds of possibilities. You can catch a shoe the way my wife says, like, did you catch a shoe today? But or you can catch a
Yeah.
catch of a lifetime. Sometimes what you catch is just an experience, man. Like I've seen many sunsets and sunrises, more so now ever since I started fishing than I have, I think, in my life. Because I gave those up when I was younger. You go out and you party all night long and sleep through the day. So you probably only see like sundowns, if that. So when I was older, like I felt like my soul or my spirit needed something like that. And that's where it was for me. That's where it continues to be. Well, there's a captain on a boat called the New Del Mar. Um, he's a fucking fisherman. Like the guys that are on there, the girls that are on there, the kids that are on there that go out and fish, man. Like I get reminded that knowledge is everywhere. I got a captain who's like probably 2 years older than I am, and that dude has more fishing in his little pinky than anybody on that boat. You know, and he calls me the port side tangler because I'm always tangling up lines, and I'm on the port side of his boat all the time. And he's a cool guy, man. He put me on to like bass fishing out in the saltwater, and he's like, it's cool when kids and people come over to talk to you about fishing because you're always like, nah, I don't know. Like, I'll show you what I do, but you should go ask somebody that knows what they're talking about. And fishing has taught me how to be humble. Even though you have like some kind of experience, some kind of knowledge, there's a word that they throw around on the boat. They don't say it a lot, but it's word is kook. Don't be a kook. Um, and it's supposed to be like almost like don't be a guy that's like big talker. It's like, yeah, man, I'm catching tuna 300 pounds all the time. Like I catch fish every time I put my line in the water because at the end of the day, you might not catch shit, and all that talk was for naught. You might just end up kind of putting your foot in your mouth. It's also good not to be like, I know everything. Like, I already know a lot. I don't need to learn from you. I know what I'm doing. Because there's probably somebody with more experience that can give you just a little bit of knowledge that might help you that day. To me, man, like I saw a kid that's I think 9 years old jump off of the boat when we got to the dock, take a rope that I've seen people use in the gyms to work out and shit. He takes that rope and he ties the boat down professional, man, like in a way that I'm just like, this kid's 9. This kid, just barely learned how to like really. be a kid,
Multiplied.
and he's yeah, and now he's out here like tying down boats, helping people with tangles, grabbing poisonous fish, helping untie other people's stuff, tie people's stuff, correcting people on how they're doing things, and I'm just like, respect, man. Like that kid probably has more knowledge about that specific type of fishing than I could get in a year, because he grew up around it. So it's reminded me that like regardless of who the person is, whether it's like a captain of the boat or like the youngest person on the boat, they could have something to impart. You just got to be humble enough to be like, my cup's not full. I'm always ready and willing to receive knowledge as long as it's good knowledge, because you have to sift through it. But once you kind of open up your mind to like the possibilities of learning, fishing is endless, man. It's as deep as the waters.
Have you ever heard about this quote that the water is the greatest mirror on earth?
Mm.
Or
Never heard about it.
something about that water like is a mirror.
It's a
Like
beautiful saying.
when you look at the water, dog, you see your true self. Or I forgot how the fuck the quote goes,
Mm.
my boy, but it's something about a mirror. And that the water is like the gateway into your soul or some fucking it's a gateway, not the gateway, but they talk about the water being super important. And that's why like a lot of people are attracted to the water. Like a lot of the more what is it called? The introspective people. They love to be alone at the water.
Mm.
Because there's a social aspect to it, right? Right. There's a bunch of fools on the boat, or even women on the boat, and y'all having a good time. But then there's other fools like you who are just always reflecting, and I think it's because of the water and having a ritual. That's dope, man. That's fucking dope. I'm real big on rituals.
Mm.
Real big on fucking rituals, dog. I feel like rituals are important. They make you feel grounded. They make you be intentional with everything you're doing. And fishing has to be like you have to be super intentional with fishing, I'm pretty sure, because any minor mistake, dog, ya valiendo fool, you're fucking in the water, dog. Like you fall off the boat or some shit, your fucking rod is flying out, or you know what I'm saying? You have to be real intentional when it comes to fishing. Your mind can't be like ba ba ba. Like it could be when you're thinking, yeah, but when you're in the moment, I'm pretty sure you have to be 1,000% right there, dog.
Yeah, it forces you to be present. My buddy from work, he's a counselor. He told me, "Hey, how long you been fishing for?" And I was like, "Oh, for a long time. I like it." And he goes, "You really like it? You like hurting animals like that?" And I was like, "Oh shit, here we go."
Oh, here we go,
And
dog.
he, and he's like, "No, I'm just saying. It's like the first sign of somebody that's a psychopath is like somebody that enjoys hurting small animals." And I was like, "Fuck, dude. Like, well, it's not for that. It's not like that. I mean, on my Instagram, it says that I'm giving out free lip piercings to all fasts, and that's kind of what I want to see it. When I were talking about like learning different types of fishing, like after I heard that, man, like I had heard it from like other people online, like what you would consider Karen like mentality, like don't hurt the fishes. I tried it to impart at the very least a little bit of respect for what I'm doing. I hate seeing a dead fish for no reason. Just like I was just sitting in the water dead. It almost feels like a bad sign, a bad omen. You know, I'd rather like the fish be used for something, whether it's gonna like decompose and go back into the lake, whether a bird's gonna come by and pick it up and eat it, a coyote's gonna eat it, or somebody's gonna take it home and fillet it. And I started to use like smaller hooks, line that I found out was like a little bit like better for the environment. If it ends up breaking off or whatever, it'll dissolve a little bit better. And I tried my best to try to like do all that, but truth be told, man, at the end of the day, you are putting a hook for an animal's face, and that made me feel a certain way. Like it almost like it like sullied my experience. It like made it like fucking it tinted it, and I was like, ah, shit, like I didn't enjoy it as much anymore. And it wasn't until I found that ritual part of it, that ability to reconnect with the water, that I was almost asking for like forgiveness from the water. And I was just like, hey, my bad for having to take this. A buddy of mine who happens to be like part Navajo, he told me that like there's a tradition in like when you go out hunting, that you leave something behind in their culture. I don't know if it's like hair, but you leave something. Like when you go and you take something from nature, you always return something, whether that be like the animal's guts so the other animals can eat it, or like something. You always give something back. And what I'd give, I guess, would be like my respect. I try to do everything respectfully. I try to do everything in a way where like I'm honoring the fish's life. because I've seen some gnar stuff on the boats, man. Specifically, I've seen people take like a fish head and pour a beer through it and drink it, and almost like this like barbarian ritual. Looks badass for the pictures or whatever, But then I also say like, please eat the whole fish. Please make sure that you guys like eat everything from it. Don't waste it. Make sure that you guys cook the fucking bones. Just make sure that it goes to good use. You guys had your fun with it. But I keep fish, man. On the boat, I keep fish, but in the freshwater, I don't keep any of the fish. I always throw those back. And it's just my way of doing things. It's not the right way. It's just the way that I do things. I've seen fools get beat up at the lake for taking fish. Like straight up, like people ran and like they fought over fish, and I'm just like, dude, like maybe this person really needs to eat. Maybe this person was like me when I was 13. And I'm just trying to hustle catfish in Chinatown. It's like, so there's like rules and laws around it, kind of like, you're telling me about like your experiences at the frat house. Like, when I found out that there was so much like legal or like rules and laws around fucking fishing itself. Um, Low key, like it forces you to act like your mom's around. It forces you to act right. Like if a game warden comes up and sees you with no license, I can tell you firsthand the ticket's more than $800. As I got cited. And then if you end up doing some shady shit where like you're taking too many fish, you're taking the wrong kind of fish, there's fines and fees for all that stuff. And, there's those fools out there that are good at it. They can get away with it for a bit, but like I think it's there for a reason. One of my other coworkers, she told me, she's like, you don't feel fucked up about having to pay for a license to go do something that's like our right. And I was like, what do you mean? Like hunting, fishing, being able to reap from the land or take from what it is that's essentially ours is your God given right. And I was like, yeah, it sounds like it should be. Like if we were back in the day, if we were like in Dia de los Ranchos, where like I shot a rabbit that was in my field and I use that to eat. That doesn't seem like I need a license for that. I go, but things are different now, man. Like we're in a society that everything's governed, everything's kind of like monitored. So like they have to kind of regulate things, and the only way to regulate things are to issue licenses or issue fines and citations around it to try to control that shit. And it's good and bad. There's a lot of like political stuff also when it comes down to saltwater fishing, man. Like people go to like city council meetings and talk about like laws, environmental laws that are impacting fishing as well as like the resources. So, like I said, you can just spend your whole day talking fishing with people, and that's kind of one of my unspoken hobbies, as you can tell. Besides fishing, I'm always talking fishing.
Hey, dog, you're like one of those wise men. You know what I'm saying? Those wise men. There's nothing wrong with talking about fishing, right? You're passing down knowledge. It'd be one. I think to me, the only thing that's wrong when it comes to talking is when you start bragging
Uh,
about your knowledge. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
And
it's
sometimes,
cool to be
honestly, for like sometimes
self-cultured.
I have to check myself sometimes, fool, because I feel like maybe it is true or not. Maybe that's just like me getting in my own head. But I'll be like, damn, fool, I might be talking too much, so I might just shut the fuck
Nah.
up. But it is one of those things where you realize, was I bragging or was I just dropping gems? And when you're dropping gems, fool, there's no limit to the amount of words. Yeah, maybe you could say less, and with
Mm,
because less is more.
mm.
But people like me, dog, I gotta talk as fool because I think as I talk, sometimes and shit. So it ain't nothing wrong with talking about fish, big dog. Like it ain't. I'm learning, homie. I'm learning right now,
I
dog.
appreciate it.
I'm learning right now. You feel me? Like I've always had questions about fishing. I want to be, I didn't know about the $800 fine. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that's wild. That's fucking
Yeah, well,
wild. $800, and I get it for the whole licensing. That shit
yeah.
happens because fool se pasan de verga, güey. Like, you
Es lo
already
que
know
pasa.
how it is, fool. Fool se pasan de verga, dog. And yeah, fool, like, who's getting the money? I don't fucking know. But this doesn't remove the fact that fools se pasan de verga, dog, and they end up taking too
Right,
much. Or they fuck
right.
up or they do some dumb shit. Policing only happens, fool, after somebody fucks up.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
for real,
Policing only happens after somebody fucks up.
for
Like
real.
that one abandoned house where all the parties happen, fool. All it takes is one person to fucking throw a bottle, fool, into the street.
That's it.
A rap, dog.
That's it.
It's a
Yeah.
fucking rap.
Somebody's coming. Someone's coming. Party's over.
Party's over, dog.
Yeah.
That shit is wild. Hey, speaking of working in the school environment, we're not gonna talk about the actual school,
No le.
but you are a mentor to a lot of the youth. Well, you're in a position to be a mass mentor, right? In a bigger scale. Not, I mean, it's not that big.
Yeah.
Do you have like mentees, dog? Like that you take with? Is there somebody who's like that I could interview and be like, yeah, this fool Iban is my mentor when it comes to fishing?
I don't think so, man. Like I've been at a tackle shop with my brother-in-law. He not at the school level, but at my brother-in-law and I were talking to the guy behind the counter about some stuff, and he goes, "Who taught you how to do that?" He goes, "Oh, Ivan taught me how to do that." He goes, "Who taught you how to do that?" Well, Ivan taught me. And he goes, "Listen, your mentor is teaching you some things that are not right." He goes, "Well, that's not how I fish." And my brother-in-law looked over and he's like, "Fool, this fool saying that like you're not teaching me the right shit." And
You
I was
got
like,
called out and
"It's
shit?
just." Yeah, I was like, well, he fishes differently, fool. Like he's gonna tell you something. Watch, and it was just about fishing with your left hand versus your right hand. That's all it was. I had taught him how to fish with his left hand, and the guy at the shop was like, bro, what the fuck? Like, not a lot of people fish with their left unless you're lefty. I'm right hand dominant, so I should be fishing with my right, but I fish with my left. And my brother-in-law goes, "Damn, bro, if you're gonna teach me how to do something, make sure you teach me how to do the right thing." Just fucking around, but like it is something that I keep in mind whenever I tell somebody that I know anything or that I feel like I can impart any type of information. So to your question, like at the school site, like with young people, uh, yeah, not a lot of people, man. But I also could say that like my age, if not like my peers. I think that one way or shape or form, I've influenced a lot of people to pick up fishing, like Chewy, which is like good friend now and like freaking coworker for many years.
The legend.
He's got. It surprised me, that he took to it so well. Especially like seeing him on the boat, man. I always trip out because like, I got another coworker, name's Johnny, and I would tell him, I go, bro, te ves tan prendido when you're in your zone. Like I see you like just locked in, focused, doing that shit. And I think Chewy found a little bit of that. I can't speak for him, but it feels almost like when I'm watching him that like when he locks in, he's fucking starts killing me. Like I mean, like doing really, really good. I'm like, I started asking him, like, hey, what are you doing? Let me get on the same thing that you're doing. And he messes around. He's like, bro, you showed me how to do this. It's like, nah, man, but you're doing it different. Like you've not just like taken what I've taught you, you've made it into something that is now your own. And that's something that I'm trying to learn. It's like now what it is that you're doing. And like he likes well, he does this thing called rock fishing. There's a specific type of fishing, and he's really good at that, man. Like he pinpoints where the fish are at, able to, they call it fill your bag, pretty much get your limit, and within a couple of hours, man, he's done. You know, we kick it and we hang out, and I'm just like, I tell people, I was like, if you want to learn how to rock fish, talk to Chewy. Chewy's got it.
That's crazy. I'm about to get all these fools into the fucking to the podcast, dog. Because
But
like I said, everybody, you can have a mentor. Like I have mentors, and yeah, for they've imparted their knowledge for, and I kind of like them, but I bring my own flavor, my own style to it. You feel me? And that's dope.
should I get on a boat, Omar?
I will trust for it's gonna happen, dog. It's gonna fucking happen. I just feel
We'll
like
do a podcast on the boat.
I was literally gonna ask you like we should record a fucking podcast on the boat. I used to
That'd be
want
cool.
to do I used to want to do a lot of stupid shit or a lot of like adventurous shit or a lot of
Hmm.
fun shit. But when I was like in my marketing mind, everything was to me was about marketing. Like, oh, let me record a video, dog. Let me go and do a vlog.
Okay.
And it was fun for a bit. But like I said, dog, like I stopped giving a fuck about all that shit and I stopped giving a fuck about all the validation that comes with it.
Hmm.
And it made me realize for like I wanted to go fishing for the vlog and not for the fishing experience. I wanted to
Hmm.
go fishing for the views or the video itself. And it's now that I'm doing a lot of different shit, like going to different restaurants and not having to worry about recording, not having to worry about thumbnails and shit like that. It's more fun, dog. Like it's way more
Yeah.
fun. And so now I feel like I am ready to do things like fishing or hiking or some shit that's like adventurous, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Uh
All right.
hopefully one of the youth gets a hold of this episode, dog, and they take up fishing. There's something called, I don't know if you ever heard about this shit, but the multiple intelligences theory.
Mm-mm.
There's multiple intelligences, dog, and there's nine. And one of those
Okay.
intelligences is they call it intelligences, fool, but they're just talents, right? There's
Okay.
nine talents or skills that everybody's born with, but every person is dominant in one. That's the theory. And I kind of do believe that. I feel like it's a little bit too vague. We could go, I like to take it a bit further and go more into depth, but that's like the foundation of like the way I look at life.
Mm,
And the people that are outside in nature, like in the water, or they say they get their hands dirty, you're considered an environmentalist, like your environmental intelligence,
mm,
because you speak to nature and nature speaks to you better than anybody else. Because you could be a gardener, you could practice gardening, but then you have fools that are just like they do that shit one time and then boom, before they get the fucking nicest flower in the garden, and you're like, yeah, that motherfucker was born for that shit. So
the
I feel like
green thumb, right?
you were born for the water, dog. I feel like you were born for the water, and the people that take up certain skills or talents quick, those people were born for that, like being in outdoors. And I knowing Chuy, like knowing his history, dog, and doing what he did, like that motherfucker is a nature, that fool loves nature. Like you could just tell right away. If you pick up
Yeah.
fishing like that, yeah, you were born to be in nature. For me, the music, podcast, giving
Mm.
speeches, I'm a linguistic person.
Let's
I see
go.
words, I use words, I use words for everything, dog. For me, my therapy is words. For me, my therapy is talking, listening. So I'm a linguistic person, but that's just the basic like intelligence description in the theory. For me,
Hmm.
I'm a communicator. For
Let's
you,
go.
dog, you're a fisherman, dog. You feel me? Like you're born to be a fucking fisherman. And you wonder why, you know what I'm saying? I tell people like there's a there's a reason why it happens, and there's a moment when we're kids. For you, it might have been even earlier than 13, but it's usually around like the age of 8, like 7 through 9.
Hmm.
Where there's a moment in our lives where there's an excitement that we feel.
Hmm.
There's an excitement that we feel that we try to replicate or try to find that for the rest of our lives. And some people
Yeah.
find it and some people don't. I
Mm.
have a 2-page fucking list of communications related fucking experiences or moments in my life that I've had in radio station in college, rapping, obviously, multiple podcasts, fucking started a podcast at the school.
Yes, sir.
I took to marketing quick. Like the marketing is just a communications department. Sometimes, different locations, blog, like it's all for me. I love reading, I love writing. To me, that shit comes natural. And I went
Mm.
back to when I was a kid and I used to love writing, dog. I used to love reading, presenting. You feel me? And I like when people talk about their fucking career, dog, or they talk about if they're living their dream job or they participate in their dream hobby. Like I like to see how they were when they were 9 or 8 years old. And was there ever like thinking back at it now, was there a moment in time when you were that young where you might have been introduced to like something related to nature or related to fishing?
Yeah, 100%, boss. Like I think just as you were talking about it, like what comes to mind was like trips to Azusa, the dam that's up there, trips to like the Arroyo Seco area, walking in nature, the family and Theos. It was really big of events like having barbecues and like bringing out like three, four different like families, everybody getting together. And a lot of it was in and around water. I remember like shooting my first gun, little rifle next to the water. I was laying down in like the brushes. My uncle was showing me how to line up my sights, and we're near a shooting range there, like an outdoor range, and there was a little bit of an arroyo there. So like again, like really piqued my interest. I was like super focused about what was going on. It was the first time I'd ever like was allowed or like taught how to use a rifle like that. I remember my uncles also fishing when they were young. I didn't have the patience for it when I was a kid. When I was like really, really young. Um, I wanted to do other things, jump in the water, like grab stones and like try to catch like newts and like lizards and stuff like that. That was kind of like the activities that we were doing, but definitely a lot of fun. Definitely a lot of like vivid experiences, the cool feeling of the water against my skin when like I jumped in the water, the feeling of the mud between my fingers or my toes and stuff. Like all those things kind of like are locked in from about 6 maybe all the way till about like 10-ish, and I think like really, really early on because we were a little bit like further in LA, my family didn't try to go out as much. It wasn't until later on when like my dad and my mom got established and we had a home for a bit that gave us our opportunity to for our family to be able to go out and try new things. I'm sure like as anybody else, they get bored of being at the house all the weekend, or if they don't have to do anything around the house, and it's like let's go try to figure out something to get the kids tired with, and being outdoors was where it was for me. There's skateboarding was always really kind of like a big thing when I was younger. I started doing that again recently, ate shit yesterday. But it's always a good feeling of like being outside. We ended up wrapping up the skateboard session with fishing at the first lake I actually fished, which was Lincoln Park.
Mm.
Just sitting there at the park yesterday and like in a little bit of a drizzle with a friend of mine casting out. He's like, "You think we're gonna catch anything?" Like, nah, I don't think we're gonna catch shit, to be honest with you. And I was talking shit. A trout swims up, and
Ooh.
he was kicking it right there. But my buddy has a like a shadow cast into the water because of the lights. Mind you, it was already nighttime, so they had like the street lights on, and his shadow was partially in the water. Right where his shadow was, that trout came up. It was like kind of swirling around, making figure eights there for a little bit. And he's like, "What is that?" And I was like, "I think it's a trout, bro." And he's all like, "You think we can catch it?" I was like, "Nah, we're fishing for bass. Like, I don't think we're gonna catch that trout." I go, "But I got to see a fish today." I go, "Dude, I didn't think I was gonna see a fish today at all. That water looks like chocolate milk. It's like
Yeah,
it's
that
so damn
one.
dirty."
Uh,
So, but when he saw that, he was psyched. But he was like fucking pumped. He's like, "Bro, for him, he was just like more of like he was thinking about a brother of his that had passed away, and he's all like, I think he came to visit me, man." When we were sitting there talking, we were talking about like the power of water, the power of being out, and just being outdoors, talking about like experiences and stuff, and that little trout popped up, and he's like, "I think my brother just came by to say what's up." He's like, "Maybe he was, man. Maybe he was thinking about you too." It's like that little trout just came to deliver a message. That's why I was like, "We're not gonna catch him," but that was my biggest takeaway from yesterday's fishing experience.
for you know what I'm saying? When you were born to do something, you attract. I don't want to say they might not be in the larger like in the bigger picture. They not might be considered crazy or wild, but you go through certain moments that stick with you for the rest of your life, and that right there, dog, saying going to one of the dirtiest fucking lakes out here, dog, like the little spot,
Yeah,
and being with your homie, dog, and having to go through that shit. It spoke to him, but for you, it might have just been a reminder, like yeah, you might not have catch something for, but we hear you, like we see you.
yeah,
You feel me?
yeah, man.
And that happens when you were born to do something, dog. I swear, I really believe that shit, dog. Like we go through certain small or big events that always remind us, like, yeah, we're in the right path. Because fool, who the fuck is gonna see a fish fool at that water, dog? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you have to have some level of it's not even luck at that point. At that point, it's destiny,
It
you
could
know?
be possible, the things line up sometimes for people, and like they say, like um, I don't, I don't pretend like I don't believe in like miracles or like the higher powers that be and stuff, because there's a lot of things that are unexplained, and it would take us our whole lifetimes to try to figure out how to explain it. So
Yeah.
I've always thought like the human being, the human mind needs religion. We need beliefs. We need like a system of like being able to think about something greater than us. And the reason is because I don't know. My theory is that the human conscious is just so heavy. We have to take in all this information day in day out, the light, the sounds, the smells, everything of just being alive, and it starts to weigh on your conscious along with all the thoughts that you got going on in there. So when you release yourself into like this belief, whether it be a religion, whether it be like a ritual, a practice, you release yourself from those bounds or these binds that keep you, and it gives you a chance to breathe, almost to come up out of the water for a little bit of air and be like, it's like, oh shit, like give me a chance to just kind of get out of my head. And in those moments, man, like I mean, whether it sounds weird or hippie or weird, like cheesy, I think you see like you said, like your true self. You see like why you're there. You see a portion of like what was in front of you or what's set before you, so that hopefully like the next step that you take is a better one. You know, I don't know, man. Like I don't pretend like I'm a sage in any way, shape, or form. I always consider myself like as a dumbass, more than anything else. And it's just like, but I'm eager to learn. I'm eager to learn, and eso sí no se me quita. It's just like I've always been very curious as a kid. When I was a child, I thought I was going to be a scientist, bro, because you get to like be in the lab and like experiment and do all kinds of crazy shit. I was growing up watching like shows like Bill Nye the Science Guy and Beakman's World, and I thought that that was the shit, like, and I was like, I want to do that. But later on in life, I learned that like I didn't have the head for it. I didn't have the dedication, the discipline to be able to like be in those classes and actually do well in those classes. So what I leaned into was arts because to me it was easy, and like my teachers would be like, "Wow, you did that so quick," and I was like, "Yeah, like no big deal, it's easy." So I guess the smart part of me was like, stick to what you do good, and it'll be easier. And I've always learned how to be in tune with like my creative side because of those experiences. It wasn't until later on that I started to really use my like logical brain. I put that part of sleep with like weed, with alcohol, and like really thought like, it's all about like being outside. It's all about being with people. It's all about being like creative, and, like being like a free spirit and shit like that. And in many ways, shape, and form, yeah, but it's got its time and place, and then you also got to lock in sometimes and like, take care of some business, whether it's like accounting, finances, like some real shit that like, you have to do on a day to day to maintain this life, and it's weird balance with fishing. It's taught me that, man. It's taught me that like you need to figure out what the right setup is, what the right day is, what the right conditions need to be for you to try to go out there and execute. Whether it's like you actually catching a fish or having a good time, and it's like it helped me in many ways, shape, and form, kind of like deal with stuff. I remember once a friend of mine was like, "Hey, dude, I'm having this problem," and I was like, I wish I could help you, man, but like you're holding the rod and the reel. Like, it's kind of in your hands right now. All you're asking me for is like advice. I'll give you advice, but if you're not doing what I'm asking to, then you're not ready for it. Once you're ready for it, your gear and all that stuff, you'll figure out what you need to do. There are a lot of analogies around like catching fish that I never thought I'd be using, but it just helps me be able to kind of center myself and ground myself, and sometimes even communicate to somebody that has never done the hard talk of like talking about problems, talking about life, because it is tough, especially like with younger people or people that are struggling with it. It's not an easy conversation to have. I don't know what it is about this like stigma about being a Latino male, bro. That always like it almost feels like it's taboo for us to talk about this shit. It's like, yeah, you're supposed to man up on that shit. You're supposed to like we don't talk about shit like that. It's like for fools that do other shit. It's like, well, sometimes we need to, man. I think it takes balls to be able to speak up and talk about topics like this, shit that's like a little bit weird, a little bit different. I think it helps. It helps that other people feel comfortable. It helps other people kind of know that there's people like them out
That's the goal of this platform, dog. I want to make it comfortable, motherfuckers coming here, dog, and talk about what the fuck they want to talk about without any like, without having to feel like, oh, I gotta stay in my macho phase.
there.
Fuck that shit, dog. Who gives a fuck, my boy? Like, who the fuck cares, dog? Like, who's gonna let another fool tell you how to live? You feel me?
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I'm
That's true.
saying? Like,
Nobody's gonna.
at the end of the day, if it's just you versus you, dog, ain't nobody give a fuck. Like, if you want to talk about how you feel, go ahead. I don't give a fuck. Like, if you want to talk about fishing, I don't care. Go ahead, dog. Like, it's cool, dog. You love that shit. You love that shit. You
Yeah, man.
know,
I think.
and yeah, dog. Like, there is that stigma for, and I'm not gonna sit here for and lie. Like, that's my goal. Like, I don't like to me, dog. Like, if we address it, is one
Mhm.
thing, but if we forcibly try to end that stigma, then it's not gonna happen.
That's the tough part, yeah.
You feel me? I'm not gonna talk about the stigma. I
Mm.
don't talk about it. I don't bring it up. We let the conversations flow. And if the stigma begin, I'm not gonna say like I'm here to fucking destroy a whole fucking centuries worth of institutional fucking ways of thinking. You know what I'm saying? Like
Imagine.
for nah, I'm not gonna make no dramatic change. Like I'm just letting people know like you can talk about the fuck you want, fool. Who gives a fuck? And don't let another fool tell you how to live. Don't let another motherfucker tell you how to fucking think, breathe, whatever. But if we're doing this and we're having a good time, and at the same time we're slowly defeating these cycles of fucking of whatever, I don't even know the proper term anymore. There's so many out there. If we're
Yeah.
destroying the stigma, fool, on accident, then so be it.
Fuck it.
You know,
I
my
think
goal
I
is,
think it's dope.
you know what I'm saying? My goal is just to let motherfuckers like, we come in here, have plática, interesting topics, wooty woo. But if we accidentally start defeating the stigma, dog, in people's minds, then fuck it, dog. You know, I'll take that shit too. I'm not
Nice,
gonna take
nice
the
little win.
credit. Not gonna take the credit, but um, it's beneficial, bro. It's beneficial when you let fucking yourself be vulnerable. It sucks. It sucks because we're doing it in a place where we can't. I'm not gonna go and delete comments. You know what I'm saying? I'm
Mm.
not gonna go and argue with people in the comment section. Just
Hey,
being vulnerable, letting it go, and then shit for whatever happens, happens. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, I'm cool with it. I'm cool with it. It's part of the reason why I originally asked you to like be incognito and wear all my fishing stuff, you know. And I thought about it, man, and I was like, I mean, I'm just trying to like hide who what my face looks like. Why I'm still gonna be me, you know. I'm still gonna talk the way I normally talk. I'm gonna express myself the way I'm normally am. So like, you know, if somebody happens to see it and recognize me or whatever, then they get to know a little bit more about me, but they won't know anything different. I'm still me, you know, at the end of the day.
Yeah, for me, dog. Sometimes you want to know who I am, dog. Just look at the background in my room. You want to know who I am? Dog? I'm always a kid at heart, dog. Always.
Totally, totally.
But
My
we've
wife gets low key jealous of that, man. She says that
why?
sometimes. She's just like, how do you make the inner child, your inner child, be so goddamn happy all the time? I was like, I don't want to go fishing.
Yeah, literally, that's all it is, fool. I think for me, dog, like my inner child is always happy when he's working on music or when he's
That's what's
doing
up.
some kind of communication. Like right now, this podcast and shit. Like after, all I had to do for was tame the anxiety, and I
Mm,
feel like I became a better communicator because I used to have a podcast for and I used to interview people, but my mind would drift to my problems or my mind would drift to like something I would say. I would be overcritical over something that I did, or I'd be scared that the guest would say something, uh, something that I would have to go edit later, dog. Like it was always something going on in my head, and I couldn't listen. I couldn't listen to my guest, and so now, like I'm really doing this because I love this shit, dog, and I don't give a fuck about the views or any of that shit. I just feel like the plática, the information that comes from the plática is more important than the result.
mm,
And the result is getting monetized by YouTube and getting likes and subscribes and fucking all that bullshit for that comes with the territory. To me, the
hmm.
most important thing is the message, homie. Like praise the message and not the messenger. That's my
That's how
way
it
of it.
is.
Praise
That's
the
why I've
message.
always liked you, man.
Message.
At that, like, we have a lot of like similarities in where we handle things, man. Like, I don't ever like tell people like what the mission is. You know, like, oh yeah, like this is what I'm out for to do. You know, partly is because you don't want to set yourself up for failure publicly, but also like you know, you just do what you do. You do what comes natural, and then everything else kind of falls into place. It's my way of thinking. You know, I'm kind of like relaxed in that way. I know there's some people call themselves like A type personalities, where they're very like I call them attack type because they
Yeah.
and then what it is just like if you give them a problem, for instance, like hey man, I'm trying to balance my checkbook or whatever, you know, like something shit. Like I just need to figure out how much money I have in my account. They will jump on that real quick, ask for receipts, like look into your bank statements. Like they have a way of doing things that's like very like almost like a systematic. Whereas like people, I feel like myself, and I see a little bit of this in you, Omar, like kind of like organic by nature, you know, and it's just kind of like, yeah, I know I got to take care of that, you know, and then I'll take care of it as I go, you know, I'll make a purchase, I'll get a notification on my phone, and then in my head, I'll start to do the mental maths, and then I'll try to figure out where I need to be by the end of the month, you know, and it's a little bit more of a relaxed approach. Sometimes it makes people that are a different way, anxious or uncomfortable because they're like, shit, that's never going to get done, or like that you're doing it too slow, or this is not the right way of doing it. There are many paths, bro, many paths, you know. Um, I talked a little bit about religion earlier, and like religion's always been kind of a tricky thing for me, just because like I don't go to church, you know, I don't have like a specific saint or a santo that I pray to, but I've dabbled in Catholicism, Christianity, and Buddhism. And in Buddhism, I think one of the most beautiful things about it is that there's this notion of like being on a path in life. You know, there's this like idea of like, you know, the Bible tells you how to live and gives you guidelines on what not to do with your life and stuff. which is good. And in many ways, the Buddhist teachings do the same thing, but they talk to you more about like the experience itself as you're taking these steps in life. You know, the ability to be able to be present and know what it is that you're doing, feel comfortable with what you're doing, even if it is uncomfortable. Know that that's what it is. You know, it keeps you on this path to move forward, to continue on. And there's a poem in some Zen Buddhist book that I read, and it says like, if I see my brother on another path, um, I don't yell out to him to try to force them to come at my path, or I don't tell them to go somewhere else. Instead, I wave at them and remind them that like my path is here and that I'm on my path and I see you on yours. And it's good to see you, brother, you know, and that's all I can do. You wave at them, you make sure that they know that you're there, check in with them pretty much. And I'll see you at the end of the path, bro, whether that be like success, death, whatever it might be. Like, I'll see you at the end of that path, you know, and you just gotta let people do what they gotta do. We'll get there.
Well, I might just be a Buddhist. I have I call this shit the journey of greatness.
Really.
You know, it's a journey of greatness. Is you go through 6 steps in life to find your true self and you heal your inner child. And once you get to that point, you just do a checklist, fool, to check in with yourself every week, every day. I have my checklist written on my board. It's I use something called the 8 dimensions of wellness. I could send it to you, dog. Like I'll send you all
Cool.
this information. Don't really want to get too much into it. I feel like I've talked about it so much already in previous episodes. But we could have a conversation about it, offline. I'll send you, everything that I got. But yeah, it is a fucking journey, dog. We all in our individual journeys. With me, dog, like just as a communicator and just being able to like do these speeches and do these podcast episodes. When it comes to the homies, I tell them about my experience and I try to be as detailed as possible. So, but I also tell them like, for your experience is your experience, my experience is my experience. If you want to do it the way I'm doing it, for this is how I'm doing it. You don't have to do it like this.
Yeah.
But this is what I'm doing and it's working for me. Maybe you could try it. Maybe you could try something similar. But I want
Hmm.
my information to be a good starting point for people. That's all it is for me, dog. I just want to be the fool that begins the change
Hmm.
in people. That's all I care about, dog. And if it
It's a
doesn't
powerful
happen,
tool.
it doesn't happen either. Like if I'm not, it's not like I get butthurt for if fools don't change. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? I just hope for the best and be like, okay, this is how it is. This is how I'm doing it. Tell me about your issues, dog. I can help you as much as I can. And that's it. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a counselor or anything. But it
Yeah.
is what it is, dog. You see people on their own path, and if they need a little bit of help, you're like, okay, here you go, my boy. If I need help,
So,
I'm for I used to hate asking for help. Now I'm opening up and being asking people for help. Like, hey, yo, Don, help me out, my boy. Boom, 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 and that's it, dog. That's all we can do. But it is a fucking journey, dog. It is a fucking journey. Everybody's in their own journey. Luckily, we met at an interesting time
mm,
in our journeys. Journey wasn't that long, just because obviously we had a whole year in virtual, so we couldn't
hmm
really connect. Um, and yeah, I miss it, dog. I do miss it sometimes. I do miss being at that school.
mm,
I miss it, dog. I miss being there and I miss doing everything, but I had to leave, dog. I just had it was time. It was fucking time, dog.
you
And it
left your
wasn't,
mark 100%.
but it wasn't because of anything had to do. I mean, I have my own issues with everything for in every system, but that's just me. But I just left because the mental health, dog, is more important. I just couldn't be
100%.
there no more. But I miss that shit, and I want to be there for graduation. So hook me up with a ticket, dog. I'll be there.
You got it. You got it, man. I always have extras. So,
Yeah, dog. Let me know, dog. But we come to the end of the plática. But before we finally end it, there's one final question I like to ask my guest.
mm.
If you could talk to your future self, what would you ask him?
And I thought about this for a little bit, and yeah, everybody comes up with like some random questions that like, yeah. But if this is my future self, right? I'm 40 now, so I'm thinking maybe like, I don't know, like if I make it to 80, I'm looking at 80-year-old me. It's like I've always been a curious person. I've always been kind of like, my family says that I worry too much, and I always be worrying a lot about people. That'd probably be my first question to him. Like, hey, how's everybody? How are you? What hurts? What doesn't work anymore? Uh, how's your body feeling? How's your mind? You know, I'd just be curious. I'd just be like, you still got so and so around? Is, you still cool with so and so? You know, I just kind of check in and try to take that with me, and that would be the kind of like the the good side of it. The good side of me would just try to like make sure everybody's okay, and for those that have passed, say a prayer, and then keep it pushing. But then there's like the evil side of me that started to think, and I was like, so if this is 80-year-old me, this dude's seen lotto numbers for the last 40 years. All I need is just one. Just give me one good set. Like what's the lotto numbers? That way I can maybe change this future, see what it looks like.
That's the ego talking, homie. That's the ego
100%.
talking. Yeah, that's the ego talking, homie. But thank you, my boy. That was a beautiful question, though. Thank you for hopping on this platform. I know it's early as fuck in the morning. I was on modorro, dog, like just waking up type shit. Thank you
If we
for
go fishing, you got to get up early, boss.
no, it's cool. I wake up early for to go to work anyways. It's not the problem to me isn't waking up early. The problem is waking up early on Saturdays because Saturdays usually my day is sleep in. But it's cool,
Ah,
dog.
okay.
It's for the platicada. I don't really care. It's just like my body's not used to it. So it took me like a little split second to realize like, oh shit, I gotta record a podcast. You know what I'm saying?
All good.
But thank you for being vulnerable with me, dog, and talking about your family, dog, and talking about how fishing makes you feel and your mistakes in life. Takes a lot of courage, like I said, for we're slowly, I guess we're slowly breaking stigmas uh in this platform and multiple other platforms that are doing similar things. Shout out to all them. But at least for our Platicada, dog, thank you for taking the time out of your day, taking the time out of your morning. Maybe I don't know what you had planned, and thank you for just being open to putting yourself on camera. I know you told me you were gonna be incognito. I thought it was because you didn't want your identity to be out there, though, because obviously with school and all that, you know what I'm saying? But
Yeah, that's what
it's
it
cool.
was.
Thank you for that shit. Anything you want to say?
That was it, Omar. They want to return the same thing, man. And big gracias. Thank you very much for even considering me as like part of this journey of yours, man. I've always felt like we don't have enough time. I don't have enough time in the day to like, I want to go hang out with Omar for a little bit. And, I want to go do this and that. Like I wish I had a little bit more time. So what we can do is like hopefully carve up some time coming up so that we get a chance. If it's not fishing, bro, it don't matter. Just let's go hang out for a little bit. Let's just go get back together for a little bit, kick it. Because honestly, like I think like being in contact with people like yourself, people that are creative, people that are willing to do this type of work, man, is like I don't know. It feels good, man. It feels natural. So like I wanna stay in touch with people that are very much like you, keep you in the circle, man. Yeah. I don't ever think that I know everything, so I was surprised that you wanted to but ask me some questions about life how
Yeah.
my own thing, but it was just a trip, and I'm honored more than anything, and I am honestly like I hope that I did right by you and your podcast.
Nah, yeah, dog, like I view this like I'm always gonna talk about myself. Always. My podcast, dog, like it's natural gonna happen. But the reason I like to bring in interesting people is because they might listen to you more, right? Because you're dropping gems. You're not here all the time. For me, it's just like it's just the product of the business for I'm always gonna talk about myself. It's not like I don't plan for it. It just happens. It's the plática, right? We could only
Mm-hmm.
talk about based on our own experiences and shit.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it is about you. Fool, like it is about you, and that's why I'm thankful that people and not just you, like every guest that I've had, I'm thankful for them and you for yourself to be able to open up and be on camera, to be on fucking on a podcast episode. Because the majority of the people that I want to interview now are not like, and I don't see them being like out there like that. You know what I'm saying? You feel me? Like they're not. People would consider people like boring people, because they're not a full on brand, right? They're not out there on their marketing shit, fool. Like they're not like a fucking rapper, dog. They're not a business or whatever. And it's just interesting, regular people. And that's all I care about. And so thank you, dog. Thank you for being able to share your life experiences with me, because it gets boring talking about myself every fucking episode. I try to do it, fool. I try to do it. And yeah, fool, it satisfies the ego, but it does nothing, fool. It does nothing. It literally does nothing talking about yourself every fucking single episode and shit. And at least having a guest who allows me to I'll throw in and talk about myself a little bit here and there.
Okay.
I'll let you talk about yourself, and it'd be like a back and forth, like a regular Platica, fool.
As
But
it should be.
oh, it fucking sucks, fool. Like being here for and having to talk with myself for 30 minutes, and I did me, then it's like it gets fucking tiring. It gets boring. Like I said, it satisfies the ego, fool, but it does nothing to move the needle. Does nothing to move
Yeah.
the needle. But yeah, dog. Like I would like for you to come back maybe next week, maybe 100 episodes from now. Who knows, dog? Like we'll have another Platica. We'll chop it up
Yeah.
and shit. But before we end, I want to give you a shout out, dog, because um you used to listen to my music at work. And some of the
Yeah.
youth were like, "Oh, yo, Mr. Fool, like I didn't know you were a rapper." You feel me? And so I always like to give people props when they listen to my shit, fool, and you didn't even have to tell me, dog. You didn't even have to tell me, dog. Like it was some other youth that told me, like, "Hey, Iban played your shit," and I was like, "Oh, that's dope." So,
It's a good
so,
music, man.
so
Good
thank
music.
you for that shit. That shit to me means a lot, dog. To me, it means a lot. But yeah, but we've come to the end. If you're listening on YouTube, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, hit the notification bell so you know when I drop another video or when I go live. I'll see ya when I see ya. Don't forget to love yourself today, all right? Adios. Stepping out the door with some fresh 90s, the old whites, the drips nice. Yeah, I'm icy, but I don't wear eyes. Still a fool that looks fly. Got my button down on.